What up, guys? It's your boy, Wild Beezy Baby, and we are here to react to the very first After the Bell podcast from Corey Graves. Right away, gonna say it was absolute thunder. I loved it. But right away, one nitpick I have. You know, it's a 60-minute podcast. He had 4 guests. I think for the format that he chose, I think it would be better if he had maybe 2, 3 guest tops. I think 4 waters it down. It's just a touch. That's just a nitpick of mine. You know, I listen to all types of podcasts. I'm a huge, humongous fan of Conrad and his work with Tony Schiavone and Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff and Jim Ross. And, of course, his old podcasts with Ric Flair. I still, to this day, go back and listen to some of those tremendous episodes. Actually, just a couple days ago, I was listening to one him and Ric Flair did with Dave Meltzer. That was pretty awesome. But anyway, they really don't have guests that much. And the podcasts that do, like another podcast comes to mind is the Take a Bump podcast with Matt Taven and Danny Picard. They'll usually have one guest at the most, usually. Sometimes 2 on a rare occasion. But that's another good podcast. And Corey Graves, you know, he's been one of the best, actually the best commentator in all of WWE for several years now. It's not even a contest. You know, sure, Mauro Ranallo, but he's in NXT, and that's like it's under the WWE umbrella, but that's a whole different situation. But anyway, speaking of Ric Flair, he was one of the guests on the podcast. And Ric Flair, the first thing he said, "Man, we're going to Saudi Arabia without no liquor." Oh, man, that's rough. Yeah, I remember Chris Jericho wasn't too happy about that when he went last year, either, along with a lot of other people. You know, it's a long flight. You can't burn no tree. You can't have no liquor. Like, can you even smoke cigarettes over there? Really looking forward to Crown Jewel, though, and that should be good. Corey Graves was talking to Triple H, talking about how he had a flight to catch, and they're all flying over there right now as we speak, if they haven't landed already. It was taped yesterday on a Tuesday. The Triple H part, which kicked off the podcast, I thought was tremendous. Anytime Triple H is interviewed, it's always a fun, interesting listen to the ears. It's always a treat for the mind, and you always learn something new. And one thing, a little nugget of knowledge that Triple H had dropped was that he's going to be releasing the lead singer of Motorhead, Lemmy's final interview that he made before he unfortunately passed away several years ago. And I guess they've had it in the archives for like 3 years. And they're going to... He mentioned that they're going to put it out around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and also Triple H also dropped the nugget that there's going to be a special music collaboration, compilation, I guess, to celebrate his 25 years in WWE. And I believe there's going to be a WWE Network special and probably a DVD and some other stuff to go along with that. You know, people can say what they want about Triple H, but Triple H has been one of the absolute best superstars in history, and you can make the argument that from 1999 to 2000, and I'll say 6, there was no better heel or bad guy in all of professional wrestling than Triple H. And you can look at his body of work, and he's had match after match that has been 4 and 5 stars. I don't give a damn what any dirt sheet or podcaster or fan has to say. If you don't respect Triple H, you're not a real wrestling fan, and you really don't understand the history and the heritage of the business. I thought it was also interesting that he had talked about how Tyson Fury had always wanted to be in the wrestling business, and then he just kind of fell into boxing, and now he's going to be in the WWE, and tomorrow he's going to wrestle Braun Strowman. I think Braun Strowman's gonna whoop that ass, by the way. And I'll be honest, I had never even knew who Tyson Fury was until he appeared on the pilot episode of SmackDown on Fox. Other than that, I knew nothing, zero donut about him. The Triple H segment was thunder. Absolutely, thumbs all the way up on that part. And then we had Bayley come on, and she was in character. You know, this was promised to be a show where everybody was out of character and they're unfiltered, and it was for the most part. And she kind of was, but it was like she was riding the fence, like halfway in character, halfway not. And she had mentioned how she was on hold for 20 minutes while Corey was talking to Triple H, and I guess they literally just shot it all at once and just had everybody on the line. And Ric Flair also, when he was on there, had mentioned that he was on hold and how he was mad that Corey Graves didn't put him and Triple H on the line together. I thought that was kind of funny. And then Corey also alluded to how he wants to have an episode dedicated to just him and Ric Flair talking. Boy, I can't wait for that. That's magic waiting to happen. And Bayley had mentioned how everybody wanted her to be a bad guy and stuff, and I'm happy. I think it's awesome that Bayley's a bad guy, and now that she's doing different things, and just her whole presentation now, I love it. And this is the best Bayley that we've seen yet in WWE, and I truly believe the best is still yet to come. And then finally, oh, by the way, I just want to say, Bayley hung up like they were supposed to talk for a little longer, and she hung up on Corey. Like, she was on there maybe 2 or 3 minutes. You know, definitely left us hanging for a future episode there. And then the highlight of the podcast was when Corey Graves had the architect, Seth Rollins. And they went up and down with what's going on with him. And they talked about the controversial Hell in a Cell ending. And Seth, he really seems like he's bummed out by everyone's comments and stuff like that. You know, I get it. You know, Seth is one of the best wrestlers in all of the wrestling business. I will never take that away from him. The backlash that he's getting, at least from my perspective, it isn't because of him. At least not recently. It's the booking and the creative decisions that have been made surrounding Seth Rollins and what he's been involved in. But, you know, I gotta say, Seth Rollins had a tremendous match with Humberto Carrillo a little over a week ago on Monday Night Raw, and that was one of the best contests I've seen in any wrestling organization all year, let alone a Monday Night Raw. So I'm still a fan of Seth Rollins. And then he addressed the Kenny Omega situation, how he was just having fun. He just wanted to stir the pot. He doesn't have no real ill will toward Kenny Omega or AEW. He mentioned how if he would have said, oh yeah, I would love to wrestle him. Yeah, that'd be a dream match, absolutely. How he said that would be boring and it wouldn't have made headlines. So from that perspective, I gotta give Seth Rollins a thumbs up on that one. That was quite the maneuver that he decided to go with, calling out Kenny Omega and calling AEW the minor leagues. We all should have known he didn't mean that. Come on, man. He came from Ring of Honor. He's a former Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, for God's sake. Same thing, and he also revealed that him and Will Ospreay don't have no real heat, and how he actually really enjoys Will Ospreay's work, and he likes his matches, and he hopes to one day wrestle him. You know, he said that on the podcast. So if that's not a ringing endorsement of Will Ospreay, I don't know what is. I think us as fans just need to take a step back and lean back and just enjoy wrestling for what it is a little bit more. The internet has become so toxic with venom toward these performers that go out of their way 150 to 230 days a year to bust their backs and break their backs and put their physical well-being on the line for us. And we always got to complain when something don't go our way. If wrestling gave us everything we wanted at every turn and twist, it would be very boring, and we would have no reason to keep watching. We'd have nothing to want for and long for. So we got to take the good with the bad as far as that situation goes. And I think Seth Rollins can win over the rest of the fans back, Seth Rollins is still one of the best in the WWE. And I gotta say, hearing him clarify that on the air with Corey Graves was nice, and it was relieving, to say the least. And I think that definitely needed to happen. Overall, though, I'm going to give this podcast a solid 9.5 out of 10. Would have been a perfect 10 out of 10 had they just had maybe 2 or 3 guests. Now, that's my only nitpick. It's a very small nitpick, but for what we got, I thought it was absolute thunder. Thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Thunder or Blunder. I'm also now on Instagram at Thunder or Blunder, and now on TikTok at Thunder or Blunder. And as always, you can follow me, Wall Beezy Baby, at Wallbucks, on Twitter. So it's a thumbs up situation all around. Corey Graves proved once again he is one of the most articulate, intelligent, and most entertaining commentators in all of professional wrestling. Not just WWE, but pro wrestling, period. Thumbs up. See you guys later.